Salutations, viewers. My name is GameDame, and welcome back to another one of GameDame Reacts. So we have kind of a long trailer here, but it looks like we're going to be getting more into the back end of the competitive settings for online multiplayer. So we are seeing like a little bit in-depth every single time with Halo Infinite, especially what the developers put out for us. And I do really appreciate it because it gives us a sense of what it's going to be like. And I know that the multiplayer was released in like beta form or some way, shape, or form, and it looked sick. I didn't have time to go and play it just because I have a lot of stuff going on. But I am very, very excited for Halo Infinite. And I also, this is just me personally, I always like to... For games like this that really hit home for me, I want to wait until launch day to play everything fresh and new. So without further ado, let's watch the official competitive settings overview trailer for Halo Infinite. To find out more.
Hey, what's up everyone? I'm Bravo and I've snuck my way back inside the 343 Industries studio to check out a world premiere of ranked and competitive gameplay, and I have the two best gentlemen to do it with me here. It's L-Town Sal, of course, of the Competitive Insights team, longtime pro player. Great to be with you again, man. And also Andrew Witt's lead designer on Halo Infinite. Guys, it's great to be with you today. I want to jump right in because, like we said, the world premiere here of competitive and ranked settings, and we're going to have gameplay in just a moment. But
let's
before
take
we
a
get
look
into
at
that gameplay,
this.
Andrew, I'd love to talk a little bit about the philosophy of ranked and competitive gameplay for Halo Infinite.
We looked at competitive settings the same way that we looked at the rest of the game. Like we kind of talked about it. We wanted to be very, very Halo to its core, right? And like uphold the pillars of Halo. We really wanted to make sure that this, the competitive settings felt like competitive Halo, felt like home. Battle rifle starts only, no secondary weapon, no motion tracker, and no grenade hit ticks. So those are the baseline settings across the game. For maps, we have a static curated spawns. We've worked with the Competitive Insights team to make sure that the scavenging story on maps is really strong and facilitates map control. We want to make sure the team that wins is the team that should win.
Sure. You'll have to excuse me because I'm containing my excitement here, and I know a lot of,
I get that. I understand
fans
that.
of competitive Halo over the years will be really excited to hear about these settings too, and also to see them in action. So I think let's go ahead and jump right into the gameplay right now. Of course, L-Town, this is going to be your gameplay that you've been so kind to share with us. This is going to be a full pro team competitive insights gameplay, which is pretty cool to see kind of all of you guys
let's
who've
get
been
to
going
it.
at each other over the years, playing a game now here of Strongholds on Recharge. Those of you who've been playing in the Halo Infinite flight weekends will, of course, have been able to get your hands on this exact game type, but we're going to now see it for the first time from a competitive POV with competitive settings, of course, also with some pro player point of view. So Sal, walk us through the opening here, Strongholds on Recharge.
So this is Strongholds. Obviously, you have to go for the other Strongholds, but we're going for mid control here and camo.
So this is control.
And my teammates are mid map, kind of forcing those two players into me. I get the easy double. I get the triple as well.
Where is it?
And apparently I get the overkill too. Yes, I do. So not a bad start.
That's a great start. Are you kidding me?
Not bad at all. Not bad at all. I'm wondering, I mean, you know these guys pretty well. I don't know if any like cash was exchanged to allow you to open up with an overkill here on this world premiere of competitive gameplay, but excited to be able to look at this gameplay here. I think one of the first things that we, of course, want to talk about is Strongholds as a game type. And you were just talking about game modes, Andrew, and the fact that we have a little bit of different scoring mechanics here, which make a big difference in terms of the end game.
Strongholds is returning from Halo 5. Really thought that it did very well in Halo 5 and it was well regarded by the competitive community. So we want to iterate.
I would agree with that.
And one of those meaningful
I just love
is,
games that control
how to
anyways.
And how scoring works. In Strongholds, when you own two zones, you begin scoring. And now if the enemy team captures any progress towards one of your zones, it stops your scoring run. So that way, you need to maintain absolute control over all of your captured zones to continue scoring.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a great change, and anyone who played a lot of Halo 5 or watched a lot of Halo 5 Strongholds will remember scenarios where they had all the pieces in place to maybe get a perfect comeback, and even though they were halfway through the cap on that Stronghold, they needed, as you called it, like the drip time allowed the other team to win, and it felt a little bit anticlimactic, so I think a lot of people have already seen in the Halo Infinite flights the ability to stop everything on a dime and come back is pretty fantastic to see. Another thing we'll talk about here, of course, is equipment. Sal, we're already seeing you kind of use that equipment and make sure that you're using Grapple to be everywhere you need to be on the map right now.
Yep,
yeah, Grapple's fucking OP, especially for
multiplayer.
multiplayer. Like the mobility is insane.
Another thing we should talk about, of course, is such a big piece of this that we're going to see is just the fact that we have motion tracker disabled and how that impacts moment-to-moment gameplay throughout the entirety of competitive play. You're going to see a lot of examples of that, of course, in this game, but we should talk, guys, Andrew, I'll start with you just about the decision there and just how much that impacts the gameplay.
Yeah, we really wanted the game to be as competitive as possible, working with Competitive Insights team to kind of make sure we measure up in that regard. And part of the things, one of the things we wanted to kind of focus on was awareness, right? Awareness and communication being really pivotal to which is the better team that wins. So that's why we pursued that direction, and you'll see a lot of the outcomes here in terms of how that rolls.
Ooh, fuck.
Yeah, absolutely. Sal, you put it best when we were talking earlier, just before we started recording, just talking about information earned and the fact that
given versus earned.
Yeah,
Yep.
absolutely. Just how important that is.
Yeah, so we wanted players to actually have to go out of their way and get info themselves versus like an indicator or UI telling you where players are and how weak they are.
I like
So
that
it's
though.
just more awareness and more skills and more thought process on this.
Yeah,
I like
absolutely.
the more
As we
awareness
take a look
portion.
here, about 70 to 56, still a pretty close game here. As you're going to go ahead and get another reset here, but you guys are doing pretty well in terms of just ability to continually rotate and collapse on the opponent as well.
Nice
Yep, just using some
kill.
good comms here, collapsing on stronghold together, and nice bait and switching going on right here.
Yeah, absolutely. I think another thing we should talk about too, as you're going to go ahead and get this kill back, Hydro, you're going to be able to pick up. We're going to see some sword and some equipment play.
Ooh,
So it's probably a good
yes,
opportunity
the
to talk about
sword.
Some of the equipment balance.
Give me that.
So right
Give
here
me
I
that
pair
juiciness.
repulsor and sword to get some creative shortcuts here. And
Right.
that guy had no idea. So that movement, that shortcut, mixed in with no motion tracker, this allows you to make crazy plays like that, honestly.
Yeah, absolutely. There's so
It
many
really
pieces to talk about
fucking
there. Just the fact that you
does.
can creatively go from bottom middle all the way up to top A like that with the sword. Like you said, if someone is watching motion tracker in a competitive setting, they're going to be watching that doorway. That play doesn't really happen in those settings, so it's pretty fantastic to see. And by the way, everyone's just running away from you with their heads down. At
Well,
this
yeah,
point in the game
I
as you're
fucking
racking up
would.
even more kills, but that brings us perfectly actually to a camo pickup. And the first thing we'll talk about here is just the new mechanic, Andrew. Of course, people have seen it, but it's worth
Oh,
talking
fuck that,
to
dude.
you as
Fuck
lead designer
that.
on the decision there, of course, in conjunction with the sandbox team to make sure that the camo is actually pocketable and you can determine when you want to activate it.
It is.
Yeah,
Oh, that's
the Sandbox team did an
pocketable.
awesome job working on the power equipment in this game, and so being able to pocket power equipment and it taking the spot of other equipment really brings more agency in terms of how you want to use these items to your advantage, right? And also hard decision making. Halo's always about making a million decisions, like having a million decisions to do
Oh
it
my
in a given second,
gosh.
right? And what's the best one? And this kind of adds to that, right? Is do I swap grapple shot for overshield? And do I use it now and then pick the grapple shot back up? What do I do? What is my combinatory effects based on what my current inventory is? Do I mark it for the other teammates to kind of come and pick up and contest with me? These are the kind of questions we asked of ourselves, and ultimately what you see here today is the fruit of those labors, right? And make sure that we test that hypothesis.
Exactly. Yeah, testing it.
Yeah, it's pretty,
Well
pretty incredible
enough.
to see. Just the term equipment on its own in the history of competitive Halo has been kind of a term that has had an ebb and flow over the years of how does equipment fit or not fit into competitive Halo. So to see how much it's not only being accepted, but I would even say embraced with things like clips on Twitter, Twitch, etc., has been pretty amazing. I'd love to talk about that quickly, just kind of the all-up philosophy of how you found this sweet spot balance with the equipment that's in the game that gives players so much creativity.
That was close.
We wanted to make sure that the equipment added to the skill of the game, right? That's the skill gap and then the skill ceiling. So the combinatory effects of, like we saw before with Sal, with the repulsor as well as the energy sword, right? Like the ability to traverse the map the way he did adds that skill, both for newcomer players and also pro players like themselves. Like the experimentation and the expression was really important for us in development in terms of adding these things in and them fitting in with everything else in the sandbox.
Yeah, honestly.
Sure, here's another camo pickup. Sal, you guys have really been on top of that camo and activated immediately. And probably the most interesting thing to talk about there, right, is the lack of grenade hit markers that player would have had in that situation.
Yep, exactly. So that player actually had no idea how much damage he was actually doing or if he was even hitting me.
Yeah.
He had to go out of his way to make sure that I was weak and get the kill on me. My play right there was to make him waste as much time as possible and to put him in a spot where my teammates could get the cleanup trade on him.
And a lot of people don't think
Absolutely,
about that
and that's a
type of stuff
situation that
too.
plays
Like
out
if you die, they're
completely
just like,
differently
"Oh, you
with
suck,
both
you died."
motion
It's just like,
tracker
no, I
and
helped
grenade
my
hit
team
markers
by
on.
doing it in
also
this
forces that player
aspect.
to even spend those grenades, right? So it really changes the way that plays out. It allows you to have so much more power as a player there. You're burning camo, you're spending that player's grenades, and you're also taking that player out of the situation. There's probably
Good
at least gonna
fucking
be a trade there,
grenade
and
right
it really
there.
changes the way that all that plays out. Yep. Absolutely. Another thing I'd love to talk about here as we see more continuous control from Sal and Team Andrew is also just the dynamic between, of course, we've got the BR utility weapon that so many players will be excited to see, but we're also seeing Sal use a lot of Mangler. We're seeing some Commando. How you guys really thought about the dynamic between this utility weapon is really important, and it is such a core part of the gameplay. However, the weapons on the battlefield are also a big piece as well.
Jeez.
Yeah, I think the Sandbox team did a really excellent job of making sure that all the weapons have a specific role in the game. The battle rifle being the utility weapon is really important to being for players to being viable off of spawn, right? They're having expression off of spawn. But we didn't want to have scavenging is so important to the game, right? And so we wanted to keep on having them scavenge the battlefield. How we did that was we took away that secondary weapon slot and have it be free, so it's only the battle rifle off of spawn. And so optimizers will want to fill their inventory, fill their pockets in order to be able to be as effective as they possibly can in a match. So going with that scavenging story of the map being very curated with very specific items and toys in the map, and filling up their inventory is super important.
Yeah, absolutely. We see another camo grab here from Sal as well.
Oh,
time I
gosh.
Nice
This
job
time
there.
he lives.
to get away, and also, of course, be able to go away now with a grapple camo Mangler, which is a pretty sweet setup as well.
Pretty ideal. Let's see what I do with it.
Let's go ahead and see. And at this point, of course, it's right now 216 to 137. One thing worth talking about with that new scoring mechanic, Sal, is, one sec. We got a contested stronghold here. Let's see how you play this one out. Okay, well done.
Didn't even fucking
Takes down
see
the first
him.
player. I'm gonna go ahead and finish that cap.
I wonder how
Almost
easy
finished
it is
but
to see
instead go
that
ahead and
camo. Obviously, that
grapple
person
out.
didn't see him, but
Yeah,
I
it's
imagine
okay.
it would be a little
One thing we should
difficult
talk about
to
though
see,
at
but
this
not
point,
too
because
hard.
even though there's quite a gap, quite a delta between the scores in the game, you really can't take your foot off the gas. Whereas in Halo 5, you might be a little more comfortable because you have, as long as you have control with X amount of time left, you're probably going to win the game. But with the ability to stop everything, like we said earlier, immediately while just stepping into a stronghold, that kind of changes the way that competitive teams will play the late game of strongholds.
Especially with the new rule set where you could contest and stop the pausing for a little bit. Like you can't let your foot off the gas. You gotta try to close out the game here. So just making sure we keep up the comms and the teamwork, just pushing strongholds together.
Yeah, absolutely, and you've done it so well here as well. Take a look at this play as well. You're gonna go ahead and grapple him.
Almost.
Unlucky.
I'm enjoying this a
Unlucky
lot.
indeed, but it's just worth noting the fact that you do have kind of that creativity, right? I mean, never has there been in competitive Halo a moment like that where you could fly out of a door and then fly into an entryway like that and be able to just set up a play like that. So it's pretty special to see, and the fact that it balanced the way that it is, right? I'm sure was quite a challenge, Andrew, for a long time, I'm sure.
Yeah, we tested a lot of different things, a lot of different settings, but we wanted to make sure that the things like the grapple and really all the equipment had that expression element, right? The things that are powering all those clips that you're seeing on the internet, we're all gleefully seeing on the internet. We want to make sure that it's important for expression with equipment. I want to do this, I want to do this and this. I want to repulse somebody and then follow up with that Mangler melee or things that I want to put somebody into a wall and knock them off the map. Expression is just paramount for some of the designs we've done in this game.
Certainly, I've seen some expression in the forms of being repulsed off the back of Silo there by the hammer many times in matchmaking. I've also been on the receiving end of overshield grappling hammer players on Behemoth, so I've definitely seen different forms of that expression getting the better of me throughout these weekends. As we take a look at these last few seconds here, Sal, closing it out, I think we're going to see in just a moment you guys close this out. Yes, some celebratory needler shots to end the game. What better way to finish
Celebratory
a match as
needle
well?
shots.
250 to 170 is our final score there. Sal, you guys ended out on top. A pretty strong performance, I'm not going to lie.
Appreciate it.
We'll go ahead and take a look at the post-game Carnage report too, because there's some sweet PGCR stats, and some people will have seen a little bit of this in the
Post-game Carnage report.
reports in the flighting, but a few things that are worth highlighting here. Of course, your overkill, but on top of that, you got some cool things here in terms of defensive kills, offensive kills, also things like the max spree, which people will be familiar with, but there's some newcomers as well. Returning stats like shots hit, versus shots fired, but also one that you and I were talking about is also damage taken, which is a cool stat to have.
That's personally my favorite because that is like the unsung hero. It tells a real story. Because some players might have the most kills, but they're actually not having the most influence on the map. Yeah. So damage taken is part of that story. Where
Yeah, I agree with that.
Be causing chaos and getting shot at from everyone on the opposing team, like a distraction. Like for example, like Austin might have more kills, but I could be taking more damage because I'm making it easier for him, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. And as a commentator, as an analyst, the fact that we now have a piece of that story, if you think of the hundreds of thousands of hours of competitive Halo gameplay that have taken place. Just the fact that we've never really had the story, Andrew, of damage taken and what that was for each match. So the fact that looking at Halo Infinite tournaments, we're going to have stats like that is pretty cool to be able to see a piece of a Halo match that we've never really had the story of before.
Yeah, it's just all this conversation around stats and PGCR just kind of makes me really happy because ultimately that's what this whole feature is for, right? Is to tell the story of the match of not only how did you do, how did your team do, how did the enemy team do, right? Where do you need to improve, right? Or how could you have done things better? Really, that whole story is why features like this exist, and so that we're sitting here talking about like nuanced stats and things like that. It's really good, just like being in this moment in time, how close we are to launch.
Totally, yeah. I think it gets us excited. I'm sure so many viewers.
Oh yeah, I'm so
excited.
excited
About those nuances.
I'm very excited.
Elton, I'll start with you. Any closing words as we take a look at your gameplay here and show off competitive and ranked gameplay to the world?
Honestly, I'm just excited for everyone to get their hands on this. We worked hard, and I hope everyone's happy with the settings we landed on.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, likewise. Myself and the rest of the team, we worked on this for a while. Really excited to see folks, get their hands on it. Right, the flights have been really exciting for us, really invigorating for us to see the response and all the feedback. Right, it's the same thing here. We're really excited to see what the competitive community does with this game, with these settings, to see what they're able to accomplish in matches. Right, see what ranked is like, see what HCS is like. All this is just super great right now. It's a good time to be a Halo
It is a good time to be a Halo
As a Halo fan, and on behalf of the whole community, I just want to thank you both for the amount of time, love, effort you've put into this game, because it is already showing in the flighting, in the excitement for the game, and it was so special for me to play such a small role in sitting with you two, with all the amount of work you've put into this game. To be part of this competitive reveal is really special for me. So thank you both. There's going to be more information on HaloWaypoint.com on competitive settings. Of
course, there will be.
On even more details there. Of course, stay tuned to @Halo on Twitter as well as Halo Waypoint for even more as we get ready. Of course, and also at HCS as we get ready for the first Halo tournament shortly after launch as well. It's going to do it for us for now. From the 343 live stream studio, it's been a pleasure showing off competitive gameplay, and we'll see you on December 8th.
That is true what they say about damage taken. Like it's the fact that not every person that has the most kills has done the most for the team, because what it ultimately is at the end of the day is a team game when you're playing these things. Is much like what they were playing Strongholds. I like to view it as Control just because from Destiny. But like that is very much a team-oriented game to do. Like you could be going in and just trying to do it all yourself, but like you have 3 other people that you're going to be with trying to take this over. I really love the loadouts that they have for it that you get to choose kind of on the fly, especially with like the active camo. Like everything about this multiplayer just seems like it was taken from the best parts of Halo multiplayer and then put into one and then revamped and modernized for today's platforms. And I really fucking love it, especially the mobility that you now have is absolutely insane, and just so many combinations that you can put together. I'm really excited for this, and I seriously cannot wait to play. This might get me back into competitive again for the most part. And I used to be really into competitive like ranked gameplay. Now I'm not so much anymore, but this might just get me back into it. So let me know in the comments down below what was your highlight of this entire trailer that you have seen and what you're most excited for with the Halo multiplayer coming out for Halo Infinite. But that is all the time I have for you guys today. Thank you guys so much for watching. I highly appreciate your time as always. But please do not forget to subscribe and or follow not only to my YouTube, but to my Twitch. You guys know where my YouTube is at, but you can find my Twitch at twitch.tv/thegamedame. Thanks guys, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.